Hello and welcome. I'm Ben the Best 5 and I'm producing yet another Kerbal Space Program themed content video for people to watch. Now I do apologize, this video may be in terrible definition basically because between this video and the last video my PC was in fact on fire, and as a result my graphics card is currently unusable and may be dead permanently. I hope it's not, but might be. Anyway, the power to it's gone, but I'll deal with that. But I managed to put an older graphics card in it. However, it can't support the recording software OBS Studio I was using previously, so I'm in fact having to use Microsoft PowerPoint screen recording technology, but I have no idea what kind of definition that will come out in, so I do apologize in advance if this video ends up looking terrible. Alright, so here we are launching our rocket which will complete the mission which we are doing, and this particular contract we are doing, it's another one. I have been, generally as far as I have been able to, I've been following the missions given to us by the Kerbin Society of Firsts, just because those are a pretty solid way of getting missions done and progressing. And if there have been any kind of side missions I can do along the way while doing that, I've included those as well, because, well, it's just the most efficient way of doing it is to bundle as many missions in together as you possibly can. For this mission, the only mission that we had available to the Mun at all was landing on it, so that's what we're going to be doing. And yes, this mission is from the Kerbin Society of Firsts. Now, we have already landed on the Mun in this save, so that's not a first. However, we have never performed a landing and then docked with another vessel and done a command module and lander style mission such as the Apollo missions performed on this save before, and that is the kind of mission that this contract is specifically gearing us towards, because it requires that once we have landed on the Mun, we then do a rendezvous and dock with another vessel whilst in Mun orbit. So because of that, yeah, we will in fact be sending a small crew of 2 in a lander and leaving one Kerbal up in the command module we have, and then from there we are going to circularize our orbit. From there we're going to land on the Mun, and then we are going to take off again and circularize around the Mun with our lander, and then rendezvous with the command module, and then that will return home, whereas none of the lander will actually make its way back to Kerbin, just simply because, well, it doesn't have a heat shield and it can't carry all of our Kerbals, and I've in fact given the lander itself enough fuel specifically so that it can land on the Mun and not really go anywhere else. Just simply because there's no purpose for it to have more fuel than that. Anyway, so now we're just going to be circularizing with our upper stage, which we will then recover like we recovered the last time we launched the D-Class 1.1 rocket. And once we have done that, we will in fact then be recovering our lower stage, which is currently re-entering, or, well, near re-entry, who knows where it will be, but hopefully it hasn't started burning up and re-entering and stuff yet. So yeah, we'll swap to that, and I'm in fact just going to show you some spout footage of that because you've seen it all before. Alright, now that we have successfully recovered our lower stage, I'm in fact going to go ahead and recover the upper stage now and return it back to Kerbin. Once we get obviously close enough so that we can land it hopefully nice and close. And this time I've added more reaction control wheels to our vessel, so hopefully it goes smoother than it did last time. Because last time we were able to recover it, if you watched that, but it was very, very, very nearly a catastrophic failure. So as a result, this time I've in fact added more reaction wheels, etc, etc, etc. And this recovery, again, I will just speed that up. Just because we've we have our two crafts here, and we in fact now need to perform a reconfiguration of the two crafts, so that the front of one is in fact pointing the right direction, and set the dock together, and so that we can in fact use the engine there, which I'm highlighting now, which was in fact facing towards the lander, and well, we don't want facing towards the lander because that's bad. Now we want to set this as our target, and because we have high level crew on it, we can in fact target it as well as destroy some of our solar panels by accident. And this is just a simple way of doing it. And we can in fact perform a quick dock, and as you can see here, I have control of my probe. I have probe control of my lander. Oops. That is because I've in fact put a probe core inside this lander. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it makes doing stuff like this quite a lot easier. And the second reason is because I've in fact put some relays inside the doors in there. So once we've in fact gone to the Mun and done that stuff, all that important stuff, we can in fact ditch it in orbit and leave it in orbit and still give it a purpose, because instead of just being debris or something that we would deorbit now, it is in fact going to remain there as a relay so that we can communicate with anything on the ground or whatever. It might be useful later, or it might be useful to communicate with stuff on the dark side passing it through there, or basically just going to leave it there as a satellite, because that might come in handy later. Anyway, from here we are in fact just going to do a fairly standard Mun injection burn. See, I could in fact just guess basically and end up with a very good Mun encounter, a desirable one, which we will in fact follow and circularize around at. So we'll just go ahead and warp to that maneuver and burn. Now it is going to be a bit of a long burn, so I'll just speed it up, or I might talk over it, who knows. Well, in fact I do have some stuff I'd like to say and perhaps mention in the mission, which I might forget to mention later, so I might as well mention it now and kind of let you guys who are watching know about it before it happens. So as you can see there, I in fact don't have much delta V in the current stage. That's not going to be particularly an issue because, well, for a couple of reasons. It has enough, so we just need to finish this burn and circularize, and then we'll still have enough to get back to Kerbin. It's in fact carrying a lot of mass, which cuts down its delta V quite greatly. However, once we are returning, we will have a lot more delta V because we will not be carrying the lander back to Kerbin with us. It will in fact stay in Mun orbit, and when we when we do lift off with the lander has been given a lot more fuel than it needs. Like, I have definitely over-engineered the amount of fuel that this lander has in it. So as a result of this, when it rendezvous and docks with the command module again, if necessary, we can in fact transfer fuel from the lander back into the command module to make sure that we definitely have enough fuel to safely bring our Kerbals back to the surface of Kerbin. Just because, you know, safety is very important. That's why I gave our lander, which we will be flying, a considerable amount of delta V, just simply because we do not want to leave our Kerbal stranded, because, well, one rescue mission is enough for me, I reckon. You know, while it was kind of cool to do a rescue mission, and also kind of necessary because I kind of miscalculated stuff and whatever, so yes, we are in fact finally going to be doing our first Mun mission on this save, which doesn't require a different craft to come and rescue our crew. And as you can see, we are circularizing, and soon we will be circularized, and then we'll transfer our crew to our lander, and then we will choose a landing site for them, and then land them, and then take them off, and then they'll be home and mission complete. Yay, successful. So we will in fact be taking I don't know why I EVA'd him, but because we can in fact just transfer crew. But we will in fact be taking Bill down to the surface of the Mun because he's an engineer, and we will in fact be deploying a small surface base, and it requires the extra power output from the solar panel that an engineer can provide. And we will be taking Jeb because, well, Jeb's kind of cool. He's the go-to cool Kerbal, you know, the original, the one that you see, you know, on all the stuff. So we will in fact send him down to the surface of the Mun, whereas Valentina, she gets to stay on the nice, you know, safe, partially damaged mothership, which I guess is cool, you know. Plus, you know, astronauts who have been to the moon and not landed on it have actually said that they have not regretted not being able to go to the moon. They've actually said that it was actually an amazing experience just to be in orbit of it and to have the complete, you know, peace and serenity that offers. So, you know, Val gets that going for her, I guess. Now it appears that we will not be receiving any Delta V readouts for this mission, which is, well, rather infuriating, but we will have to deal with it and live with it. And plus, I did in the vehicle assembly building, when I built this, I definitely did plan to have it so that we would have more than enough Delta V for whatever mission however the mission panned out. As for landing sites, I will in fact be targeting the center of that big crater there, for the simple reason that every single large crater is its own unique biome on the surface of the Mun, and we want to land on as many different biomes as we can to in fact ensure that we get to collect new science, because every single biome you can collect a new set of science from. So yes, because of that, we want to make sure that we are not visiting the same biome more times than we have to, because that can definitely put a strain on the amount of science that we can gain from a visit. And yes, this might in fact not look like one continuous take, because, well, I'm not getting any proper readouts from this lander about delta V and thrust weight ratios, etc, etc, etc. So as a result, I in fact had to take several takes and revert to many quick saves, which is why my footage might suddenly look a bit jumpy and juddery and stuff, but it's because I screwed this up a lot of times. In fact, this time, which is a time I finally managed to do it, I did have to quick save a couple of times because, yeah, I was burning at the wrong spot and using up way too much fuel, and I eventually got it to a spot where I could kind of lower myself down slow enough without colliding and causing a massive collision and stuff. So yes, it took me quite a few goes, but you know, I'm finally landing this thing. And we have finally touched down on the surface of the Mun with lots of help from Kerbal Space Program's very awesome stage recognizer, I guess we'll call it. Anyway, that was sarcastic, by the way. It was many attempts it took. Anyway, so we can do some science and then perform the all-important EVA activities, such as planting a flag and doing EVA reports and collecting surface samples and planting a flag, and in fact building a small base. Crew report, there we go. And in fact for this mission we can in fact just leave Jebediah in the capsule, because we won't really, well, be needing him to do anything, because Bill's going to do all the important stuff, like collecting the science and planting the flag, and even building the small base we will have set up. So we will plant a flag. Very cool. Very useful letters, I'm sure. Don't know why I typed them, just felt like it. But anyway, setting up a surface base, we will in fact need to collect the units and then plant them nice and far away from our our craft, because if they're too close to our craft, then, well, when we take off, the engine will destroy it, which is not what we want. Wait, this is Jeb. Jeb in fact should not be deploying this, because if he were to deploy it, then we would get reduced science gains from it. reduce power, and we need all the power we can get. So looks like he did in fact get to go on an EVA and get to plant the flag and stuff, even though it was not intentional. So yes, Jeb gets to go on an expedition to the surface of the Mun. And Bill here can go and plant the last piece down of our small station. Yeah, the control unit, very, very important. And now that is all done. And yeah, we can in fact let Jeb collect the science and then head on home. We've now performed our burn successfully to get ourselves on a collision course with Kerbin, and we can time warp around to just before we collide with Kerbin's atmosphere, and we can then ditch our service module, which will burn up during re-entry, just simply because, well, it's not very strong or heat resistant or anything, and it's got no way of being lowered safely to the ground. So we're just going to face this way, which is basically just not prograde or retrograde, so that, well, there's no chance of it flying back and hitting us, or us flying back and colliding with it, basically so that we can't collide with our debris. And now we are hitting the atmosphere, and we are going to just go ahead, re-enter, and then deploy our parachutes and land in the ocean. See that command module there, which is burning up next to us? It never really stood a chance at surviving re-entry, and as you can see, it's in fact falling through the atmosphere a lot faster than we are. So as a result, you know, yeah, it got destroyed. However, our command module with a nice shield won't be turned into fireworks, because, yeah, we had a nice and safe heat shield to stop that from happening. Also, at this moment, I have now realized that we've in fact left all of our scientific data on our lander, so perhaps if we get another mission to go to the moon, I'll go and visit that lander and bring back our science which we accidentally left there. Yes, it would appear to be a kind of a pattern on this save that we don't manage to land on the moon without something going wrong, without us needing to go back for some reason. In this case, it is just scientific data which we have accidentally left there. Another good reason why you shouldn't necessarily destroy your landers, because you might be silly and accidentally leave your scientific data in it. So by not destroying it, we have in fact preserved our scientific data, which we can go and rescue at a later date. Okay, we have recovered some science from recovering that